Be the minority because the majority is overrated. We're living in a day and age right now where so many people, they bow down to the culture. And we just start doing what the crowd is doing, whatever the crowd says to do. So many of us, we're just doing things that we don't even agree with or believe in simply because our friends are doing it. The only problem with that notion is that your friends don't have the life that you want.
I've gotten rid of all things, people, and situations that no longer belong. I love myself too much to allow people, things, and situations that are dysfunctional to stay in and around my life.
You got to surround yourself with people who have talents and skills, not just people who love you. I'm glad you love me, but loving me won't bring these fish in. I want to know, can you carry some weight? I'm talking about somebody who can carry the weight when the net is about to break. You are carrying so much weight and so much responsibility that you are at the breaking point. And you can't even tell anybody that you're at the breaking point because you have a Superman complex and you're trying to be there for everybody. But the reality is the weight of what you're doing is breaking your nets.
What's important is that where I am right now, that I live life and I experience my life fully. See, if you go through life holding back, most of us, if we ask ourselves, have we done all we can do? Most of us will have to answer, no, we haven't. We've been holding back. We have ideas that we don't act on. We go through life trying to seek security and not coming outside of our comfort zone. Things we want to do, we're afraid to take chances, and we take most of our stuff with us to the grave.
Because leadership begins with your belief. And your belief system determines your philosophy of life.
And I'm saying that the fact that you're still here, that you're still breathing, you've got some more work, and you owe it to yourself. You owe it to yourself. So when you get up in the morning, that you can look yourself in the face and say, hey, I'm living my life on my terms. That's important.
If every follower is a leader, who's going to follow? The fact that you ask that question is proof that you've been successfully convinced by your culture that only a certain group of people were born to lead while the others were designed to follow. Because you cannot see in your mind everyone being a leader. You have problems in your mind.
You got to go through some things in order for you to get faith. You've got to have some life experiences under your belt so you can talk about how strong your faith is. Because if your faith has never been tested, you can't brag on how strong it is.
Some people, you have decided to be on the receiving end of everything that these people want to dump on you.
When you still carry your history, you are afraid of success because you may lose your friends who ain't going nowhere. Your attitude is so powerful. It creates your atmosphere. It also is a source of your natural lifestyle. And if you're going to change your life, you got to change your attitude. Your belief system is the source of your attitude.
I don't love you more than I love myself. So to keep you around. So when you find yourself getting rid of all things and people, situations that no longer belong in your life, you clear out the clutter. And you don't always have to have a problem with somebody before you get rid of them. You just say, you know what? My life has a certain rhythm and a certain energy, and you just don't fit.
So for all of us out there that are chasing after these big dreams and big goals, and we are making changes in our life to get better, all of us out there who know deep down we can do a little bit more in our lives, I want to ask you, what is your definition of success?
What we do not somehow capture today is lost forever. There are a lot of things in life that we can trust, but my experience has taught me that the human memory is most definitely not one of them. How many times as we go through the day do we come across a good idea, a unique quote, an interesting piece of information, or even a significant personal discovery? And each time we do, we mentally say to ourselves, I must remember that. Now, I'm willing to admit here that the human mind is a remarkable thing, but I also know from experience that the human memory leaves a lot to be desired.
Success breeds contempt. You'll know you're winning when they start hating you.
Because if you're not facing resistance, maybe it's an indication that you're going in the same direction as your enemy.
If nobody's hating you already, it's not big enough. You'll know it's big enough when they start hating you for it. And nothing you do satisfies them. And nothing you do calms them down. That's a sign that you're getting ready to get in a net-breaking blessing.
Do you define yourself by your emotions? Do you define yourself by your status? Do you define yourself by your lowest point? Do you define yourself by your highest achievement? All of that is dangerous. Because the moment you start believing that you are what you do or you are what you went through, there's a bleeding on the inside that happens when your sense of self-worth flows from what you do and what you go through.
There are so many sources of insight and inspiration all around us. Good ideas flow in abundance from sermons and lectures, from books and magazines, television documentaries, business meetings, and conversations. But obviously, for you to capture the ideas, it is essential that your journal always be at your side. Let other people sit there thinking they can remember it all. Let other people treat opportunity casually, but not you. I would ask you to treat it seriously. Let other people wonder at the end of their lives where it all went wrong, but not you. Let other people play while you work, fool around while you study, soak up the sun while you soak up ideas. 10 years from now, they'll still be trying to figure out how to pay the bills, or wondering why their marriage isn't working out, or why they don't seem to be getting ahead professionally, but not you. Life always rewards the serious students for their labors. So, since we all know that it's nearly impossible for most of us to remember the exact phrasing of an inspiring line, or the specific details of a business conference over an extended period of time, we've got to get serious about capturing it now. Generally, if we wait until the end of the day to describe events and happenings and conversations in our journals, the specific details have already escaped us. At best, we are left with scattered fragments, and it's hard to build an exciting future from mere bits and pieces of the past and present. So I would encourage you to get it all down as it comes your way. Financial ideas, personal development ideas, time management ideas, family ideas, business ideas. Everything you have the good fortune to come across. If an idea is worth listening to, worth reading, worth remembering, then it is also worth capturing in your journal. And there are many reasons for making the effort to capture good ideas, not the least of which is the fact that the simple act of writing something on paper helps to etch the idea more firmly in our conscious minds. To hear it, or see it, or read it is one thing. To take the time and make the mental effort to capture it with paper and pen is so much more. Second, every idea has its time and place. As Victor Hugo once wrote, there is one thing stronger than all the armies in the world, and that is an idea whose time has come. Perhaps the ideas you capture today will not have any specific meaning or purpose in your life at this moment, But ultimately, at some future point in time when you march into battle, the armory of ideas you have carefully and conscientiously assembled over the years will serve you well. As we collect a variety of thoughts on any given theme or subject, there is a tendency for these individual ideas to come together and form themselves into a whole new idea. The successful human being is one who has learned to diversify his interests and gather knowledge from a variety of sources. Gather enough good ideas in one area of life, and you will form a solid block. Gather enough solid blocks together, and you can construct a whole new life. Remember, failure more often than not is attributable to lack of information about how to succeed. Next, by taking the time to capture and assemble information in our journals, we now have the added benefit of being able to review these ideas whenever we wish. You don't have to run back to the library to reread the book you borrowed last year, or call a friend on the phone and try to reconstruct the conversation you had last month. If you've captured the essence of the conversation or the highlights of the book in your journal, it will always be there for you to refer to. And here is the key point. For your journals to have their greatest value, they must be frequently reviewed. You see, writing in journals is merely a way of capturing information, but it is by rereading our journals that we begin the process of translating information into practical knowledge about ourselves, our environment, our relationships, our businesses, our financial affairs, our dreams, and our own better future. I would strongly urge you to set aside a day each week, or at the very least each month, to review your recent entries. And then once a year, take all of your journals off the shelf and read them from cover to cover. What you read will probably make an incredible story of personal growth. You see, better decision-making comes from the better thinking habits, and better thinking habits comes from practical experience, learning both what to do and what not to do. Becoming a more effective thinker on paper is a sure way of becoming a more effective person in practice. As you continue to grow and develop, you will soon discover that last year's systems won't likely meet this year's needs. You see, one of the keys to success is flexibility. We must always be on the search for more effective methods to facilitate and accommodate new ideas. But let's face it, in the beginning, the only thing that matters is that you develop the journal habit. Just one bit of advice, however, bear in mind that a journal should be capable of going wherever you go. A journal that requires more space than your briefcase permits, or more room than your desktop allows for you, more often than not, it will be left at home, gathering dust instead of thoughts, and cobwebs instead of observations. But let's get to the heart of the matter. Buying a journal is the easy part. The real challenge lies in filling it up. And that's what we want to deal with now. What should go into a journal if it is to have meaning and value in your life? Perhaps the best way to answer this question is to consider the purposes and functions of a journal. Once the matter of why we should write is clear, then the what we should write will become immediately apparent. One of the unique characteristics of a journal is that it offers you an effective way to figure it all out. To figure out life, to figure out people, to figure out business dilemmas, and most important of all, to figure out yourself. Even though you are describing your problem, your challenge, your life, your uncertainty, and your indecision, the fact that you are writing about it, as opposed to mentally pondering it, creates a space between you and the problem. It is within this space that solutions have room to grow.
So it's something we all got to pay attention to. There is a blessing in everything. Behind every moment of adversity in your life, there is a blessing and a lesson. Pain always leaves a gift. Always. God is a merciful God. He didn't bring you this far to leave you. He didn't set you up to fail. You're tripping, man. Even if you're wrong, he forgives us. Just keep moving, man. It ain't nothing. Now, look, I've had some painful moments in this like you. But hey, I look for the bright side, man. I expect something good to happen.
Pain is a part of life. It's easy to get discouraged, think, why is this happening to me? But one of the best principles I've learned is don't put a question mark where God has put a period. One reason is we can't see the big picture for our lives. If you have a puzzle, on the front of the box, there's the picture. As a whole, it's fantastic, so beautiful. But if you were to take one piece and isolate it, you would think, look at this funny looking piece. It's not going to fit anywhere. It's an odd shape. But the fact is, that piece has a perfect place. When the other pieces come together, it will fit in. In the same way, sometimes we look at pieces in our lives that don't make sense. I lost a loved one. I'm going through cancer. This piece couldn't be a part of God's plan. But you have to trust that even in the painful times, God doesn't make any mistakes.
Many of you know that God will make things uncomfortable to get you out of your comfort zone, to put you in a place of purpose and destiny, to rise to the height of your calling and soar above your adversities and fly like the eagle you were created to be.
God never said that we would understand everything that happens along the way, but He did promise that it would all work out for our good. The key is what we do in our times of pain. Pain will change us. If you go through a divorce, a friend betrays you, eventually that will pass. You'll get through it, but you will be different. You can come out bitter, or you can come out better. You can come out defeated, giving up on your dreams, or you can come out with a new passion, excited about the new opportunities in front of you. My challenge, don't just go through it, grow through it. That difficulty is an opportunity to get stronger, to gain new confidence. Anybody can give up. But you know what that's doing? Wasting your pain. The scripture talks about how God is in control, not just of our lives, but He's in control of our enemies. The enemy may turn on the fire, but the good news is God has His hand on the thermostat. He knows what we can handle. If it was going to harm us rather than help us, God would have turned back the intensity. It's helpful to remind yourself, I may be in this fire, but I know who controls the temperature. The God who is for me and not against me. The God who takes pleasure in prospering me, He's in complete control. He's not going to let it defeat me. I may not like it, but I'm not a whiner. I know I can handle this. We've all heard the saying, no pain, no gain. If everything was always easy, we wouldn't be prepared for our destiny. Every struggle is making you stronger. Every painful time, even though you don't like it, it's developing something in you that can only be developed in the tough times. Without the pain, we couldn't reach the fullness of our destinies. We were not created to float through life on flowery beds of ease. Difficulties are a part of life. In those tough times, God is getting you prepared. Now quit telling yourself you can't take it. You're not weak. You are well able. The reason the fire is so hot is because God has something amazing in your future. See, God doesn't just randomly say, let me give them some pain to make their life miserable. There is a purpose for the pain. We may not always understand it, but I can tell you, if God allowed it, He knows how to bring good out of it. Now, I'm not going to just go through it. I'm going to grow through it. I'm going to keep a good attitude, knowing that this pain is leading to my gain. Sometimes we bring pain on ourselves. Get in a relationship we know is not good, or maybe get over our head in our spending. We're having to deal with the consequences. And God is full of mercy. He'll always give us the grace to get out of it. Be big enough to look back and say, okay, here's where I missed it. I ignored the warnings. I got out of God's time and got in a hurry. Not going to do that anymore. There's a lesson in the pain. A man I know has struggled with diabetes most of his life. I saw him recently. He looks better than ever. He said, Joel, that stay in the hospital was a wake-up call for me. I've changed my diet. I exercise every day. I feel like a new man. He learned the lesson. We talk a lot about letting go of the past. And yes, that's true. But another way to say it is remember the lesson. But if you go through a painful time and you don't come out with what you were supposed to learn, you're doing yourself a disservice. Don't keep repeating the same mistakes again and again. Are you struggling in a relationship because you keep saying everything you feel like saying? Here's a newsflash: the pain will stop if you zip it up. Other times we experience pain that have nothing to do with our choices. We were doing the right thing and the wrong thing happened. The scripture says rain falls on the just and the unjust. There are forces of darkness trying to keep you from your destiny. And even though it's painful now, if you'll stay in faith, that will lead you toward your destiny. Take what was meant for harm and use it to your advantage. When you go through something you don't understand, have a new perspective. The reason God allowed it is because He can trust you. Maybe you've been through something you don't understand. Life hasn't turned out the way you'd hoped. It's painful. It's easy to take on a victim mentality. Why did these people mistreat me growing up? Why did I have this bad break? It's because God knows He can trust you. Just like God said to Satan, you can test Job, but you can't take his life. I know what Job's made of. God is saying the same thing about you. I'm going to bring them out better, and I'm going to use them to help other people who are struggling in the same areas. There's a purpose for that pain. Cindy Leitner received a phone call saying that her 13-year-old daughter, Carrie, had been hit by a car. Unfortunately, Carrie lost her life that day. The man driving the car was under the influence of alcohol. This mother was devastated. When she heard that, something rose up in her like she had never felt. She started a new organization. She called it MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Today, her organization has saved hundreds of thousands of lives, changed laws. Cindy Leitner understands this principle. She didn't waste her pain. She could have sat around depressed, bitter, blaming God, but she didn't put a question mark where God put a period. Today, she's impacting the world. I believe you and I can find a purpose in our pain. Keep moving forward. Do like she did. Go out and encourage somebody else. You have something to give others. You can encourage people who are going through what you've been through. We've all been through things that are uncomfortable. We didn't like it, but God made a way when we didn't see a way. God's counting on us to let our light shine. Be on the lookout for somebody you can encourage. Don't waste your pain. Don't sit around feeling sorry for yourself. Go out and lift somebody else up.
That opposition, those obstacles that you will encounter, that's how you become stronger. And here's what I want to say to you. For those of you that have experienced some hardships, don't give up on your dream.